Dallas. Welcome, Joel. Good morning.
I just got all excited because I heard Gus's voice. You know, like it reminds me of being in the booth. That's right.
Fired up.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of reports right now that Saquon Barkley is the guy the Giants are targeting with the #2 pick. Could you see them taking him?
You know, I could see the Giants doing any number of things, really any number of 4 things. And that's why I think it's the most intriguing, pick of the entire draft, because the draft starts at #2. I think they could go pass rusher with Bradley Chubb. I think they could go with a quarterback. They could trade the pick, or they could take the most dynamic offensive threat in the draft, Saquon Barkley.
Are you 100% sure Sam Darnold to Cleveland? Are you booking that?
I'm 100% that Cleveland takes a quarterback.
Okay.
So regardless of which one they take, Josh Allen or Sam Darnold, I think that the draft starts at 2. Because all the dominoes fall after the Giants select. Now, if Cleveland takes Sam Darnold, I think that Saquon Barkley should be the pick for the Giants because Eli Manning's 37 years old. At that age, we've seen some guys have a lot of success, but we've seen them do it with a very specific style of offense. Tom Brady and Drew Brees, while you don't think that they play similar games, that's true. But if you take a deeper dive into it, what they do is protect themselves with timing. Shannon, they get the ball out of their hands very quickly. They have offenses that allow running backs and slot receivers to get open quickly so that Brees and Brady don't have to hold the ball in the pocket.
Right.
That's exactly what they need to do in New York for Eli Manning. Get him offensive players that can allow him to elongate his career. And I think that's a perfect mold for Saquon Barkley. While he might not be a 25-carry-a-game guy in a true tailback sense, you can throw it to him, toss it to him, screen it to him. You can do so many different things with Barkley that allow Manning to have more success as now he gets up into that late 30s range. So that's why I think Barkley's the best fit. I know in my mock I have Josh Allen going to New York, but that was a number of different factors and more of a projection rather than what I think should happen. What should happen is Barkley to the Giants because of the Manning factor. Remember now, this guy is the most dynamic offensive threat, and it's because you can get him the ball in a multitude of different ways. Guys, that's what Manning needs.
Okay.
Me personally, I think Eli is closer to the end, and they should take a quarterback. That's just me personally. I don't know what film the Giants watched, but did they see Eli last year? Skip, they set him down for a reason. The ownership demanded that. That's not Ben McAdoo's call. They put it on Ben McAdoo.
Obviously, he lost key targets and they couldn't protect him, but go ahead.
Yes. But if you're not going to take a quarterback, it would be hard-pressed to pass on Saquon Barkley. 2 years ago, they were 29th in rushing. Last year, they were 26th. Skip, that's not good enough. Eli is not one of these guys. I don't believe at this juncture of his career, he can carry you with his arm like he once could. Remember, Drew Brees sat on our stage in Houston and said, we need to get that running game back. He was throwing for 5,000, 4,800 yards, wasn't sniffing the playoffs. He get those running backs like he had last year, Ingram and Kamara, and all of a sudden, Drew Brees looked like the Drew Brees of old.
But Kamara just fell out of the sky.
And Mark Ingram, right.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what they need to get back to, take some of that pressure, because Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. Eli Manning does not look like Tom Brady at 37. He does not look like Drew Brees at 37.
But some of that is offensive system. They're sitting in the pocket, waiting for Odell Beckham down the field, and that leads to hits.
But they addressed Nate Solder. They got a left tackle.
Deal.
They traded away JPP, so they got a. So we're going to see. But I believe if they don't take a I would personally think they should take a quarterback, get ready to move forward from Eli Manning in a year or two.
Who do you think best fits them quarterback-wise? I actually think Rosen. I think Cleveland takes Darnold, and I think Rosen probably fits best with New York. His personality that fits in New York. I don't think it turns people off there.
I think Josh Allen would fit better. For the simple fact, I mean, it's a big city. He's from and played in Wyoming, Skip, but his personality. I mean, I think he just seems like an even keel demeanor guy. Rosen, I mean, some of the things that you've been hearing, I don't know. His former head coach didn't give him a glowing endorsement.
Yeah.
He might have just been protecting him from Cleveland, though.
Okay.
You never know.
I'm going to say what I've been saying from the start about this draft. I don't love it. I just don't love it. Some drafts just aren't very good, and you look back 5 years later and you say, yeah.
You sound like Sean Payton.
I do. I brought his quote out here today because I'm not just talking about the quarterbacks either. I'm talking about the whole draft. I'm talking about Saquon. Let's do Saquon first. It scared me last year in his 2 biggest tests. He goes to Ohio State, and then he goes to Michigan State. and he looks pedestrian to me. He looked like just another back. We've had him on the show. Did you cross his path? I can't remember.
I've met Saquon several times. Unbelievable
He's
kid.
unbelievable high character. I don't know if you could. I saw quotes last night. Everybody's calling him a Boy Scout. He is, man, he is the highest quality. You can trust him. However good he can be, he will be for you.
No doubt.
I'm just not sure because I look at those two games at Ohio State. He ran the opening kickoff back, so you got that. If you want him as a kick returner, you might have some.
No, you're not going to use him as that.
Dynamite. Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. But he goes 22 for 44 against Ohio State. It's just not good enough. And then at Michigan State, 14 for 63. Caught 4 balls in the first game, 3 balls in the second game. And then I look back, and I keep saying, Ezekiel Elliott, you want to talk special? You could see explosive special in college. Those 3 straight games at the end of his sophomore year. Remember the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, Alabama national semifinal, Oregon national final. He goes for 220, 230, and 246. It's special. It's where you're saying that is transcendent. We don't see that very often kind of production at the college level. And we all know running backs will translate. When they can run it in college, especially in a big league against high-level competition, they will be able to run it in pro football. I'm not sure Saquon's that difference maker, but I do agree. Is it a need? It's a glaring need for Eli. So if you're going forward with Eli, I guess you just say, is he worth the 2nd overall pick? I don't think so. It's back to the Mel Kiper theory that goes back and forth about are running backs always overvalued? Is this too high to take a running back? I would say it is. If you just convince me that we're going with Eli, we got to have a running back. He's the best running back in the draft, so we're just going to waste or spend the 2nd pick in the draft on him. Okay, God bless you. But with the quarterback group, to me, I'm back to what Sean Payton says, and I don't want to read the whole quote, but he said that he's talking about how the pressure to get a quarterback in this league is so great. He said, I get that, but we can't create them. So you're stuck without a quarterback, and then you go into the draft with your eyes bigger than your stomach, so to speak. You know, like you're in the buffet line and you're looking, and it's not that great of food. It's not worth the calories, right? And you look at these, and he says that he wouldn't be surprised if only one of these top guys is left standing in 4 or 5 years. And if so, he says, I guess it would be Sam Darnold. Now we're to which of those quarterbacks do you love the most or the least, you know, because I'm not sure they're worth. So you're going back and forth. I don't like Josh Rosen. I don't like his intangibles. I wouldn't like him in New York. I think the New York media would eat him alive. But I'm with Shannon about this. There is a glaring need at quarterback with the Giants. I saw erosion in Eli. I just saw erosion. I saw production drop off. I did not see a Tom Brady going toward 840 where he's going to be playing at that high. He beat Tom Brady twice in Super Bowls. I can't take that away. But that's about all. And I'm not sure about if this new regime is really, are they going to bet the house on Eli going forward?
That's when you get into the quarterback situation. Because, listen, one or both of those New York teams are going to take a quarterback. You know, I have Baker going to New York at 2.
Well, let's do that. Next up, Sports Illustrated told a story back in January in which Baker Mayfield said he will definitely be drafted in the top 5, and Joel had Baker going to the Jets with the 3rd pick in his latest mock draft. So, Joel, do you still see Baker going to?
I do. I think that's a great fit for him with New York. I think that his bravado fits well with the Jets and that organization.
I agree.
I think that his play has been overlooked because as a society and more maybe a media-driven narrative, we want to focus on all these, you know, quote-unquote antics, you know, off the field. And listen, I get it. And some teams are going to be turned off by some of that, in particular the arrest down in Arkansas. That's problematic. There's no question about that. However, I will say this, that this media narrative that this cockiness is bad is false, all right? Because NFL personnel like that. They want that. You know why? Every game, not every single game, but most every game comes down to what, Shannon? One possession. It's a one-possession game in the 4th quarter. And to be cheesy and borrow a movie line from A Few Good Men, he's like Nathan Jessup. You want me on that wall. You need me on the wall. You want the cockiness in the huddle. You want it in the pocket. If you're a tight end, a running back, an offensive lineman, you want the guy that believes that at all costs, we're getting to the end zone. I don't really care what's going on, and that's what Mayfield has. It's that intangible that I think makes him so special, and why the NFL personnel that I talk to are much higher on Mayfield than the media personnel that are evaluating this draft on the periphery. That's why I think he's a good fit in New York. Heck, I think he might even be a good fit for either New York team, but I think Mayfield is a guy that will get selected in the top 5. 5, and outside of Darnold has the least bust factor of on-field playing ability. I think he's a really quality player.
I like emotion, but I just like a controlled emotion. And I don't got to mind the cockiness, but some of the childish stuff, you know, the crotch grabbing and all the others, we can do without that. Now, here's the thing. Now, you can ignore the check engine light as long as you want to. These red flags are there, Skip. Yeah, they're there.
I don't disagree.
And I don't care how we try to dress it up and say, well, he was this and he was that. They're there. Mm-hmm. And so at some point in time, you know, there were red flags with some other guys. It's like, oh, no, come on, man. You know, he gonna grow up. You know, once we, get him out of the situation, he got to go to school. He's gonna be a professional, and they'll tell you everything you want to hear. But they're there. Now you can choose to ignore them if you want to, but that's gonna weigh heavily. Now his height, I want to. You can't take anything away from his college career.
No.
When you play big-time football like he did in a big-time conference.
This is the highest level of production over the last 2 years.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yep.
How many snaps did you think in his career at Oklahoma he took from under center?
Very small percentage, under 5% of his snaps. They took a few from short yardage situations. He certainly looks uncomfortable under center. But remember now, the NFL is now more 75% in the shotgun. So it's not as big of a deal as it was 10 years ago.
So it's going to be very interesting. But, Skip, for me, I think it's probably more likely he'll be slightly outside of the top 5 than in the top 5.
And he flat out says, I will not last past 5, says Baker Mayfield. So that's
Denver
Broncos?
Yeah, Denver has the 5th pick.
Is that going to just tear you apart if they take
State Tiger?
Yeah. Oh.
You know what? You know what's interesting about John? And listen, I grew up in Denver, right? I grew up on John Elway, right? And he has made some bad selections at that position in the draft. Mm-hmm. Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler. I mean, these have not panned out.
Yeah.
And he went for a very prototypical size, arm, athleticism kind of package with those guys. Mm-hmm. I think he might totally break the mold and be like, nope, I'm going with the attitude. I'm going with the competitiveness that I had. Remember the old story now. He lost at pool to Gary Kubiak and sold the pool table because he couldn't do it competitively. Maybe he goes more towards the competitive nature than he does the physical attributes.
Baker Mayfield can wing it now. He's got a nice arm, and he can throw it deep too. I'm going to amend Sean Payton's bottom line quote to maybe only one of these guys will be standing in 4 or 5 years. I think it would be Baker Mayfield, but I do not disagree with anything you say. And there are Johnny Manziel comparisons. And just a quick aside, I ran into Johnny the other day and had a good long talk with him. And he looks not good. He looks great. He almost looked like he's grown an inch. It felt like he was 6'1". His body looks sensational. He's built back up from that waif that we saw in the TMZ video. And he, of course, doing all the right things. Now you got to go play the right things, right? You got to do it for So God bless him. I hope he gets a shot to come back. But I don't know. He's got a lot to prove to a lot of people, as does this young man.
Yep.
So would I risk those high picks? If I was forced, if I said, I got to have a quarterback, I'm going to bet on him just because if you can keep him barely within bounds, he's going to be the best performer of this whole group. And I'm going to say this again. I've said it from the start. It depends who has final say in Cleveland. But if Hugh Jackson has final say, I'm not going to be surprised if they take Baker Mayfield. Not going to be surprised.
I think if it's Dorsey's final say, they'd probably go Allen.
They would. I would agree. And if it's the owner's final say, it's a gut feeling they would take Darnold off the Rain Pro Day.
But here's the thing.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Here's the thing. But if I'm taking a quarterback, high, there can be no question marks off the field.
Okay.
If you want to question his accuracy, you want to question his ability to stay healthy.
What if you have glaring need? Then what do? Pass? You're going to just say, I'll take the best offensive tackle? Or
No. I'm just saying, but Skip, I mean, that's the one position. I mean, other positions you can get away with being, okay, he's a little bad boy. But the quarterback, he got to be buttoned up. They want him buttoned up.
If Darnold's off the board, listen, he's the one that doesn't have the off-the-field problems.
Yes.
He's got the production. I get it if Darnold goes over Mayfield. I understand because you are right. The check engine light is on for a reason.
Yes.
And you hope it's just a tune-up.
Right.
And you hope it's not something more serious. I'm going to listen, I've been a little bit of a Mayfield defender here, but 2 more points on Mayfield. I think that the Manziel comparisons clearly are just there for a couple of off-field antics, but on the field, they're not even close to the same guy. Manziel was not schematically fluent, or sound. I mean, he didn't understand the game. Mayfield understands the game.
Johnny had recently admitted
he didn't know the playbook.
No.
And when you talk to NFL personnel, they'll say on the whiteboard, Baker Mayfield is the best of any of these quarterbacks. It's schematically talking about the game. He's fluent in football. And then another thing is I'll go back to that second half, fourth quarter type of a deal in one possession games. Did you know of these four quarterbacks, these top four quarterbacks? You go back to last season and how they performed in one possession games in the second half. Mayfield threw 11 touchdowns. No other quarterback had more than 4. I mean, he outplayed these guys in tight situations 2-3-fold in those big moments. So if you're looking for a guy that's going to go out there and help you win football games, then Mayfield's going to be your guy. If you're looking for a guy to go out there and be, squeaky clean for the fan base, then you're probably going to go a different direction.
We got to leave it there. Round one coverage begins next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. No, you cannot.
You might need
Joel,
3 or 4
thanks for
phones.
joining us. Is James Harden starting to shrink under the playoff pressure? We'll discuss that
you need
next.
a bat line. That's what you need.